Let us start. So, Daniel, could you visit the temple?
No, I had a bit of a wild week. My car broke down last weekend, so
Okay,
it's been a scramble to get transportation this week. I don't know if you've tried to purchase a car lately, but it's
okay,
different
okay.
than I've ever expected it to be. So
No worries. Whatever we spoke last week, any questions?
I have like overall a general question or perhaps a request is more about a lot of what we're talking about is the philosophy, which is what I love. I'm very interested in it. But is there a practice element to it? Is there something more that people do aside from living, via this philosophy? Is there like a different set of instructions, I guess?
Yes, 2 weeks ago, Arunaji had reminded me that I should also talk on rituals.
Hmm.
So, I will talk on rituals also. Um, do you want me to carry on a bit about what we spoke last week towards the end, last part, and do more of it and finish, or do you want me to jump into rituals?
I would like you to continue on, and I want you to talk about what you think is important. I don't want to. I don't want to guide it too much. That's just my question. That's all.
I will get into the rituals very quick. This is my it's in my agenda already, that I
Okay.
must talk to you about the rituals that we follow,
Okay.
and I will explain them to you in detail also. But I was actually thinking that if you visit the temple, something of that sort will come to your mind and I will
Mhm.
connect it. So I was really waiting for that. But no worries. We can pick it up next week also. It doesn't matter.
Okay, sounds
Doesn't,
good.
doesn't matter. What I had spoken to you last week was primarily about the four forms or stages or whatever you want to call it, uh, of soul and the body, physical
Mhm.
body and the soul, and how we perceive and how does it come into being and come into living beings. That's what I had spoken to you basically about.
Right.
When I explained to you about the three levels of space, I would have to tell you this way, that consider it to be one that is the earthly level, the second one that is beyond the earth, and the third, what we call the space, and the third one to be called primarily as outer space, probably. This is how we can perceive it. But to get into a little more of it and to understand, I would have to explain to you in this manner that the way we have our solar system, which is our sun, the planets, the asteroids, and the stars, and whatever is there in the solar system, this whole solar system rotates around the sun. We know that. And the sun rotates on its axis. There are seven such solar systems in one galaxy. That makes one galaxy.
Okay.
So it is our galaxy that has these seven solar systems. If if we have to travel from one end of the galaxy, our galaxy, to the other end of our galaxy, it would take us 2,500 light years.
Right.
That is the size of this one galaxy with the seven solar systems. I had read somewhere that all these seven solar systems in one galaxy, and we know that there are 400 or such galaxies that scientists have already discovered. So we can understand how many solar systems and how much of the total thing is all around there already. The, to understand this whole thing, I would have to say it this way, that when I say the atmosphere or the space around the earth, we mean it to be a little larger than whatever we can perceive as our earth and its periphery, like our sky or our clouds or our whatever we can assume, or our moon. Even beyond that would be the sphere of the earth. And to the far end of the solar system would be the middle space. And somewhere in the galaxy beyond our solar system will be the outer space, which is beyond our system.
Mhm.
Now, why do I explain this to you? Is because we believe that everything or all the creation activity starts in the galaxy somewhere. Once, and it is equally for all seven solar systems. So the creation part starts there. And when those atoms or when those creations starts forming some sort of a shape or size or identity, then they are pushed into the second level. The first level creates all sort types of powers, all types of energies, all types of everything it creates over there. Then it pushes it into the second part, which then starts formalizing them or giving them forms, and things start getting created like sun or whatever it is. They are all in the second level. So you can call it space, outer space, our space, whatever names you want to use it, but this is how we understand. We have only three names for him, which is called the Dyulok, Antariksh and Prithvilok. So we use them as these identities. I have read somewhere that in all the seven solar systems, the creative activity almost is there in all of them. It is possible that when our system is becoming coming towards the end, the seventh one will start getting made. That is possible. I don't know that,
Mhm.
but it says that there is this activity of creation in all seven solar system. Because if it is not there, then there will not be a solar system. So how are these seven solar systems there if they don't have the activity of creation? If the creation is not there, it will be blank. There'll
Right.
be nothing there. So this
Right.
is what is the belief over there. Now the galaxy itself rotates around its axis, which takes its all seven solar systems and rotates. We understand that when the powers and creation and everything is made in the outer space and pushed into the second level, that is where everything starts getting made. Obviously, the way the energy travels from one level to the other, its forms, its effect, its everything changes. And that is what we understand happens. So while the first level we believe essentially has three things in it. More than three, but three things are main in it. We call it the Vayu, Agni, and Pran. Vayu is any type of movement or a wind. Wind is created by the movement of atoms. That's what creates the wind. So when the wind is created, it then starts pushing and moving more atoms because the wind pushes. So
Mhm.
wind gives the activity of movement. Agni is the radioactivity or the energy or the fire into it. So all types of energies are created by Agni or fire or radioactivity. And the third is prana. Prana is what we call the breath, all whatever we breathe in. So every living being has to get a prana to live, otherwise, it does not live. So when all these atoms that are getting made get the breath in them or the prana in them, they become alive
Mhm.
and they start creating whatever they want to create. So when this creation is being made, the first time when the creation is made, all the souls rest in the outer space. That is the resting point of all the souls till the creation starts getting made. When the third level or the earth level is ready, that is when the souls are pushed into the second level. Now, as as everything we have, we borrow from the mother nature or the matter to be built. We have to get everything from the mother nature. So the physical body that you and I and everybody has, or the animals have, or the plants have, trees have, everything is made from the mother nature. And we have to borrow everything from the mother nature. So when we come to the souls, come to the second level, they start borrowing from the mother nature, because the mother nature by that time has formulated itself in whatever shapes and things it is, which is five basic things which we call the elements of ether, wind, fire, waters, earth, all these things, solids, whatever. It's already started making those things. And then the system has its own intelligence, because it's working on a very intelligent system. It has its own mind, it has its own memory bank, and it also has its own ecosystem. The basic ecosystem is that I need to survive, and this is me, which means everybody knows that this is me, it's I. So that identity and the fight for survival, struggle for survival, is the basic ecosystem. So all these things are also already formulated in the mother nature, and they are all in the second level. In the second level, then, depending upon whatever the previous memory of this particular soul is, that is pushed from level 1 to level 2, it has an old memory bank, an old, so to say, karmas and fruits of karmas that are pending.
Is this the samskara? Is this what we talked about?
Yes, you can call it samskara also.
Okay.
So there are samskaras that are there. Samskaras are a little different, because samskaras are there, but samskaras get made also when we are in the body.
Right.
So everything becomes samskara. That we carry out after this present body also becomes our samskaras.
Right.
So samskaras are there already.
So
Samskaras.
but the memory bank that you're talking about isn't just samskaras. It's the memory bank is one of many types of samskara.
One of many types of samskaras. It has the good and bad. It has my desires, burning desires, my likes and dislikes, my pending fruits of my karmas that have been there in the pending. Everything is there in that memory. So that memory bank helps me in taking the particular type of body that I deserve accordingly.
Right.
Now, when the soul is pushed into the second level, that is when it starts getting these four essentials attached to it. The four essentials are mind, intellect, memory bank, and ego. They get attached to the soul. Once they get attached to the soul knows that what is the my identity, and which is the perfect place that I should now go to, which includes, I would say, very broadly, two things. One is where you will be getting the fruits of your pending karmas, number one. Number two, which of these will fulfill your real burning desires. So my burning desire is that I need to be born extremely rich and comfortable. So I might be given a parentage that is very, very rich, and I will be born into a rich family. But my karma says that though you will be born rich because your desire is such, you will not be able to enjoy any riches, because that is my karma's fruits of my karma pending. So I might be born in a rich family, but I might be born in a wheelchair all my life with no senses in my body, and I'll be living like that for the next 60 years. So I have these both, they are balanced, but they are there. So this is how primarily a soul gets a body. Now, we believe that the sun and the sun rays give in a human body, male or female body, they give the they create the living cells, the cells that give life. So the living cells in any body, male or female, are given by the sun's rays, the ray of the sun. And similarly, the same rays create a generating cell, cells that can generating cell in plants and fruits, in vegetables, and also in living beings. So it is the same rays of the sun that create these things in all these species. While it creates the living cells in male and females and the generating cells, all of the form of these cells are never solids. They are always in semi liquid forms. Always. You can say it is the juices of the vegetation, or you can say the sperm or ovary of a male and female, but it is never in a solid form. It is always in a liquid, semi liquid form. These semi liquid forms that can create, because all of these are things that can recreate a life or recreate a generation. We call all of these containing extra strength than the other liquids. Certainly, the quality of this liquid is a little different than the quality of other liquids because it has got something more special in it. We call them somas. Soma. Soma. We in our language we'll just say som, but in English they will say soma. Now, som is something that contains om in it. Om, we say, is God. So, when the godly power is there in this, we call it som. So, this is how the creation starts working. We will go into a physical body because this way, when the generation of uh, in the plants or fruits or vegetation is there and the soma is entered into them, though it is through the sun's rays, that contains our um, part of our causal soul that will go into it and transfer into a male or female and get born.
So are we getting soma by eating vegetables
Yes.
or
Yes.
okay,
How do you get it? Tell me. How does a human being, or how does a male create or generate its semens? By eating vegetables, eating fruits, eating whatever food it eats,
right?
right?
The
That's how we
necessities
get
of
it.
life. Yeah.
Yes, it's the essence, it's the essence of the thing. So that's how we get it. So which part of it will become your bone? The food you eat. I mean, this is part of yoga. I can explain that to you some other day. How does the food you eat becomes bones or blood or muscle or skin, or how does it become?
Hmm.
Obviously, there is the system that makes it like that. The one that is essentially taking the essence of everything and making it into a strongest part is the semen. So that's how we work on it. Now that's a different subject, but I was just trying to tell you the how the souls travel, how they get into a body, and how they get a parentage. If we all, I speak about this in every single different platform that I talk on. If you start meditating on your own self, which means, why was I born to this parentage? Why did I get a father like this? Why did I get a mother like this? And then why did I get something till certain age when nothing was still in my control? Which means a certain type of schooling, a certain type of family friends or relatives or cousins or close friends or whatever it is. Till I was 8, 9, 10 when I started controlling things and doing it as I wanted to. Till then, if you start meditating on these things, concentrating, meditating, but not with any influence of decision, which means no likes and dislikes,
Hmm.
no judgment. It has only got to be plain, simple understanding, looking at it like a third party view. If you start doing it, you will start understanding your karmas in your previous lives. You will start understanding why I got this sort of a body, this sort of a parentage, this sort of a life. You will start understanding. They will start falling in place to you very, very easily. Once these things start falling in place, it can take you multiple years to get into this understanding. But once these things start falling in place for you, it will be easy for you to control where you want to go in next life. Because now you will know and understand that if I want a life like this, I can do this to get this life. Or this has to be my last final burning desire always before I go away.
Hmm.
Or this has to be my karmas to get this sort of a next body. Or again, this is what my karma and desire should be, to be getting rid of this birth, uh, life and death cycle. All of it will fall place into where you will understand.
The idea there is though that you don't figure that out like rationally, right? You arrive at a place where it's like second nature, or is it something that um, you don't use logic to arrive at the direction that you should take to arrive at a certain
No,
karmic
there
destination?
has to be a logic. There has to be a logic. There has to be a rational to it. It cannot be something irrational. How can you say that I was born, I have got this father because of this, but it does not make any sense or it does not make any logic? Then you're not going to get into anything. It
Yeah.
has to have a logic behind it and a rational behind it. And it is only in a very, very detached, deep meditative sense that you can really understand this. Because you have to essentially look at it like a third party view and not get into any influence of judgment at all.
Right.
I mean,
But
I know once a person starts looking within his own self or her own self, any person that looks within his own self or her own self will find so many dark avenues inside that sometimes it is more scary than anything else in the world. And those dark places, when we start delving into it, is when we really call what we say is catching a bull by the horn. This is when you're going to really deal with something that you need to correct your own self. And that is the toughest part in our lives, toughest part in anybody's lives. This is when you will start understanding things, that this is why this is happening. Anything bad that happens, you eat something and next day you get sick or you get into stomach trouble, you immediately understand, oh, I took this and that's what created the problem. You find a logic immediately. So why don't you find a logic to why did I get this sort of a life, or why did I get this misery, or why did I get this good thing? Anything is there, you can find it out. There has to be a logic and a rationale. This is the way one needs to study one's own self, by delving deep inside to understand everything. That because what is a soul? Soul is inside the body. If I don't get connected with my own soul and study it, I cannot correct it. I cannot change it. If I, you see, the logic is, if I do the same thing all the same always, I'll get the same result always. You cannot get a different result if you do the same thing every time. So it's the same principle that applies on us. So what makes it something in us, our thinking, our likes, our hatreds, our loves, this is what starts impacting us inside and gives us different identity to the soul in each and every human being or each every living being. And that's what makes us different.
so let me ask a slightly different question then. So we can reflect on our life, our early life, the situation we're born in, and all of these things, and establish what we had done in the past to arrive at this place, right? And so what you're saying is through difficult reflection, we can get a better understanding and then make adjustments moving forward so that we're not doing the same thing and getting the same result um, uh, in the next karmic cycle. Okay.
That's
But
right.
okay, so we look in the past, we figure out what we did, and we abstain from doing that. Okay. But is it really just, okay, don't do stuff you did before because it didn't work? And then it's really just like cutting something out and then seeing what happens? Or is there some other deeper level instinct where it's like, okay, this is where I came from. Now this is what I should be doing. Like, is there an affirmative take on it as opposed to just what did I do before that I shouldn't do anymore? Like, that seems to be like what you can get from the past, right? Is like, what
No,
can I?
that is a very simple way of putting it. Certainly, when you get into the meditative states and start looking inside more deeply, everything starts falling in place in a very logical, affirmative manner. And it starts giving you a direction towards where you want to move in future or in your next few lives. Now, it is I mean, this is the whole study of this is what is known as the yoga. This is what yoga teaches us if you study the whole yoga darshan from start to end. But if you look at it this way, that you know what, honestly, I want to be a great scientist who contributes to the humanity. There's nothing wrong in it. There is nothing wrong in it. You may also say, I want to be the biggest terrorist in the world. I mean, that's your desire. If it's your desire, you'll probably be gifted. But the thing is this, that unless and until you don't understand who I am, how are you going to modify or change or adjust to anything for the future? Unless I know my basics, unless I know my grounding, I cannot really stand on a ground to say that this is what I am going to be. Correct? These are the basics. So, basics are designed in a way that every human being can understand from himself that what am I inside and what am I doing here. Now, when you start delving in previous lives, it is not a good experience. It is not at all a good experience. I have tried it and I can tell you I hated it. It is really not a good experience. But it's a good experience to understand that what did I do to deserve this parentage and this life. This can be understood. And it's very simple to from here to make your grounds to go forward and say that this is what I want. Now, once you know what you want, it becomes your burning desire for the rest of your life, and that's what you'll be gifted as long as your karmas are in line. So, this is a simple way of looking at it, and that's what takes us from one life to the other life to the other life. In the cycle, if we are going to count those 4,320,000,000 years of the creation, how much is my 70, 80 years or 100 years of life contributing to it? Nothing. Nothing. I have rotated, or rather, my soul has rotated into bodies, I don't know how many hundred of times, millions of times. So if I'm born this or if I'm born that, I mean, if I was born a horse once and a dog then and a cat next time or a bird, I mean, I don't know these things. But these are all possible. Now, there's a gift that has been given to me in this life. That is why I was born like this, and I could get the knowledge of how to's and what to's, and I'm going to use it to my advantage to become better and gain a better life next time. Have I done wrong? I have done thousands of wrongs in my life, in this life. Thousands of wrongs. And every day I look into myself, I find a very dark side. Oh my God, I did this wrong. Oh my God, I did that wrong. But that is how one learns. If you don't look at the wrongs, you don't learn. If you don't acknowledge that I have a pain in the body, you will never go to a doctor. So cure can only be done once you acknowledge the pain. So that is what we are all trying to achieve here, and that's how we say the cycle keeps moving. Uh, you see, uh, where should I take you from there? This is the basics of what how we believe and how we believe in it, or how the Hinduism thinks about it, because we do not believe that there can be, we don't believe in any heaven or hell. There are no heaven and hell. All heaven and hell are on the earth. If you're born into a lousy situation, you are living in a hell. If I was born into Ethiopia or Sudan or somewhere, I would be living in hell. As it is, we are living in countries and comfortable life and very nice families, and this is heaven that we can have. So it's our choice to spoil it or make it better or give it bad words, so whatever we can do about it. But there is no other place, and no souls to survive without getting into a body.
Can I
The,
let me ask a question about that? So, is there a like an understood hierarchy? Like it's better to be this than that, i.e., coming back as a bird, you're further away from salvation than if you came back from as like a pick any other animal.
the hierarchy is only one, that you will get a body that you deserve according to your karmas.
Hmm.
Now, which body is worse than which body is very difficult to say that way. Though it is believed that the cow is the most uh, best animal among all the animals. So getting a life of a cow is almost like the next life you will get as a human being. You
Okay,
may say
but
that.
humans are still higher than cows in
Humans
the.
are always higher because a human has a choice of an action.
Mhm.
You can do this or you can do that. The choice makes you better because you have your intellect that you can apply. Let me tell you the principle of yoga again here. The yoga says that the everything in the world that survives, animal kingdom, does not have a straight head on a straight back, which means medulla oblongata does
Mhm.
not rest on the spinal cord in a straight manner.
Right.
Everything has a slanting head on a slanting back. Slant may be fully less this way, that way, whatever. It's only the human beings that have the medulla oblongata right on top of the spinal cord. That is what gives you the intellect that is better than any animals. This is the why an intellect in a human being is sparked or energized or has better quality than any other animal. Only this particular one reason, the way the physical bodies are built, that is what gives the human beings a choice of action.
So let me take this one step further. So being a human being is like a rare opportunity, right? You're uniquely close to um the ultimate goal of everything. But and the situations in which you're born are a reflection of your karmic balance from your past lives, okay? And in so somebody gets born into one of these terrible situations that you're talking about. They're born in Sudan and they're like 4 years old. So they barely can actually make choices of their own. It seems to me it would be better to be like an elephant than to be that 4 year old baby in Sudan. So when reflecting on um, your life to figure out how you arrived at this karmically, it seems like the elephant is getting karmically rewarded more so than the 4 year old child, despite the fact that they're on another echelon. Like that's a unique hell to be that child, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Well, I would have to say this. I would say the same thing, that I would like prefer to be born as an elephant
Right.
than in that part. But the reality is again the same thing, that your karmic fruits have deserved that body and that place of life. So you have no choice to be born as an elephant, but you have to be born there as a 4 year old who has to suffer, who has to go through these pains and pangs because of the karmic fruits. It cannot be escaped. Karmas cannot be escaped. It will always come back. It's a cause and effect. There has to be an effect to every cause. It cannot be escaped. There's no pardon. There's nothing known as pardon. There's only one way out of it is the you understand, acknowledge that I made a mistake and you don't make the mistakes again. This is
Mhm.
why a human body is given, because only in human body you can control your thoughts, you can control your speech and actions, and you cannot do the same mistake that you made in the previous lives. Why is a human body given? It is only in a human body that you realize that I can pray or I can ask for help from somebody who is superior to everybody else. That is the purpose of prayer, that we ask for help, that, oh God, let my thoughts not get into negative. I want to have positive thoughts so that I do positive actions. That is the whole purpose of prayer. And the only human life is given to you so that you can do that. And in a human life, you will understand that you will be able to listen to something inside or deep inside that probably an animal may or may not be listening but is not able to do anything about it. Is be only a human life can do about it. So if I'm a 4-year-old who's going through all the hell in my life, the moment I'm becoming a 10 or 12, at least I'm able to listen to the inside voice, because every human being has an inside voice. Every human being who puts up a gun and wants to shoot somebody gets a voice from inside saying, don't do it. Every human being gets it. When you're going to fool somebody, you're going to cheat somebody, some voice comes from inside saying, don't do it. It might become that the law is going to punish you, or it might be that I won't be able to face my family, or it might be able to be something else, but some voice is there. Till we train ourselves not to listen to that voice anymore, then also the voice is there, though we can't hear it. So it's only a human life that can get this opportunity. So to give the opportunity, whether a person is born in the hell or heaven, does have an opportunity at least. What the person does with it is your choice, because every human being has a choice of doing what it wants to, think the way it wants to, work the way it wants to, speak the way it wants to. Everybody has a choice, which the animal kingdom does not have a choice. That is the primary difference. This is the purpose of getting a human life. Whether most of us are going to ruin it or spoil it is a different question. But that's the purpose of our lives.
How does it deal with so this idea that you're born into the situation that the situation that you've earned up until that point, let's put it that way. It's like it's a bit of a dangerous place to be in that you could easily see people taking this saying, well, I deserve like so I'm born into a privileged position and I must deserve that. And they're not born into a privileged position and they must deserve that. That's the way that everything works. It's divine. So what's the impetus to like help other people in that circumstance? Like you could fall into this like, well, that's the circumstance that they, that's their karmic fruit, or that's their karma bearing fruit. Well,
Don't
who
we
am I
see it
to?
all the time? Don't we see this happening all the time?
Yeah,
Especially
all
with
the time.
those people who are blessed with whatever, always feel that I deserved it and I have more than you and I have to. Don't we see it all the time?
Constantly.
So,
You almost have to think that way in order to reach the top of that mountain.
so that's what it is. What does Lord Krishna say in Gita about it? I told you once before. He says, I'm giving it to you so that you can pass it on to people who don't have it. I'm not giving it to you so that you can eat all of it, consume all of it, and be a selfish human being. Because then you will not get any more in the next life. You wasted it.
Hmm.
I have given it to you. How do I give? How do I give to anybody? I only give it through other human beings. How
Right.
do I pass knowledge to you? I passed knowledge to you through other human beings, whether it was your parents or your teachers or professors, but I passed knowledge to you through other human beings. How did I train you? How did you learn to walk? Because I passed it on to you through other human beings.
Mhm.
So I give it to you so that you can pass it on to other human beings. So those people who say that I have it because I deserved it and I have a lot of it, unless they are not distributing and giving it to other human beings, they are wasting it. And they are getting into that karmic evil, so to say, that is
Right.
again going to reflect and come back to you.
Right. This is Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility.
Always.
You're born into this privilege, and it's much easier to fall backwards from a point of privilege than it is to fall backwards from a point of less privilege. Meaning,
Very golden words. It's very
yeah,
easy to fall backwards when you're privileged.
yeah,
And that's what we see happening all the time.
right.
But then understand this way that every one of us has something that we can give to others. Every human being, privileged or unprivileged, everyone has something that they can pass on to the others. So it becomes, it's not only that, you know what, I'm waiting for myself to be a billionaire, so I will pass people. It's not like that. It's whatever has been endowed upon you is nothing that you yourself have it. It's given to you and you're privileged and pass it on to others.
Hmm.
In the Bhagavad Gita, there is a place where he tells that the smell in the flower is me, the shine and the ray heat in the sun is me, the coolness in the moon is me, the juice in the fruits is me. So he tells you that everything that has quality or whatever it is, the manliness in a man is me, the feminine in a female, the motherness in a female is me. So what he tells you that I give you life, but the finer quality in you or the real goodness in you comes from me, my part. So that is what I'm asking you to distribute. The flower cannot keep the smell to itself, it does not help. The fruits don't keep the juice to itself, they give it to you. That's what I've asked you to take in life and give it to pass it on to people. Learn it from the way I have made the Mother Nature. That's what it says.
Hmm.
That's the message that it gives to everybody. I always say that if these are the things we would have taught every single kid in all schools all over the world would have been a totally different place.
Yeah.
It would have been a totally different place. But well, that is what it is. Okay, questions.
I
Any?
that's all I got for today. We went off on a tangent there, so but this was a good one. I appreciate.
Can I ask one
Arunaji,
question?
yes, yes, Arunaji.
Yeah, what you just now said about the situations the people are in, does that mean uh, we are not supposed to we are not supposed to think whether we deserve what we have got, or the others less advantaged, less privileged one, we are not supposed to think that it is their karmic action, that is why they are having that particular situation. Our work is just to distribute. If you have excess, give it to others. Don't think, because you are, as Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Shri Krishna has said, you are nimitta matra.
Yes,
Is it so?
yes. You see, Nimit Matra means you're only a small little cause so that through you, I can distribute. You're a via media. But it is very important what you said a little while ago is that no human being has a right to be judgmental.
Correct. Yes.
I cannot judge why you don't have the million that I have. It's
Mm-hmm.
not my job to judge. I can never
Right.
judge anybody else. I cannot judge why my wife is thinking this way. She has her own thought process and I have a different thought process. I cannot be judgmental upon anybody. It's the job of the maker to be judgmental. We are not judgmental on anybody. What have we done to be judge of anybody else?
Correct.
But then, we are a via media. So when he has created us as a via media, once we understand, once we know the responsibilities, how much can a human being eat? How much? So if you have tons of food with you and you want to eat a little bit and then throw away the rest, what good are you doing? You're doing nothing good about it. I used to ask, you see, in Canada, I was talking to a particular, I think it was Domino's, that I was speaking to one of the managers there, one of the higher up guys in the head office. And I asked him that why do you waste so much of. He says there's a major problem that we have those pizzas that we have made, or we have the dough that we have, but we have to throw it in the garbage. So I said, why do you do that? Why don't you? He says the problem is that if somebody eats and develops a problem, we will be sued.
Yeah, it's a
So
litigation
you see
issue.
litigations. This is the scare. This is a very, very ugly part of the truth.
Mhm.
It's a very ugly part of the truth. But you know what? This is the world we live in.
Mhm.
It's the limitations that are imposed upon us, but I'm positive there are ways to fight out and find ways of doing it.
That's a tricky scenario because if you think about the way that that type of thing operates, is it's technically is trying to protect people on a at a different level. So individually, it's better to give people the food. Collectively, one might make the argument that it's not a safe practice to do for everybody because people are eventually going to suffer, somebody doing that poorly. Regulations and things like this do have a place in society, but I agree. What we've done is we've gone too litigious. We're overly litigious, and that stands in the way of people just doing. You see it everywhere where it's like, oh, we could make this so much easier and more enjoyable or even more helpful for people, but we need to safeguard against being sued. And so,
In India, Bangalore, there I used to live there. I have lived there for 10 years. Both my kids are born in Bangalore. In Bangalore, there used to be a restaurant that would serve coffee and some food items in the morning. They would open at 6 o'clock sharp, and you got to be there, rush or line up or whatever, if you really want to enjoy whatever you want to enjoy. By 7:30, they would be finished with most of the items, and by 8 o'clock, they would wash the kitchen clean and done. Go. So one day I asked that gentleman, we used to go, my wife and I, we used to love going there because the food was fantastic, very tasty. So I asked the gentleman once, he says the number one is that we do not want to waste a single thing.
right, they don't over prepare.
We never over prepare.
Right.
So, and if you want to get my items, okay, take the packed ones or the frozen ones or something, take it home and do what you wish to do and make it
Hmm.
yourself. But I don't want to waste. Similarly, they would open at 4 o'clock and be shut down by 6:30 in the
Right.
evening. You see, it's all the way we want to think or conceptualize.
You're right. It's the practice, it's the way that we design the business that we're over making so that in case somebody orders one extra pizza that we're ready to go, instead of saying, okay, let's limit our productivity so that we don't make so much waste, right? Like we overproduce because we figure we waste on the back end of all the processes as opposed to planning up front. That's how it seems to be the way we structured almost everything. We backload everything onto essentially the environment, like the planet, and we're seeing the repercussions of all of that now. But yeah, I mean, it's that model where it's like, okay, be as productive as possible and squeeze out the economic value out of this situation, despite the waste that you might create, because the waste isn't actually as costly as it should be. It should cost you a lot more money to dispose of good food than it does. If we had a system that properly accounted for everything, you would be expensive to do things that weren't good for the environment, but it's not, right?
But if you think about it really, there's a darker side to it. No litigation is done to protect the guy who got hurt because of the food. The all litigation processes and the laws are made to protect those multimillionaire corporate and the company, that they should not be sued.
Yeah, that's
The
right.
laws
Yeah.
are
So
not made to protect that, really to protect that person who's going to eat and get into trouble. Nothing is made for that other than I bought from you and I have a trouble, I'll be refunded the money.
mhm,
There's nothing beyond that. See, litigations are all designed. This is the darker side to it. This is what it makes it worst, because eventually it's not meant for human or the consumers or whoever you want to call it, the real beneficiary. It's meant for protecting the corporates.
mhm.
That's what the whole thing is, and that's what makes it darker and even worse. So that's
Yeah,
how
well,
we are.
yeah, and it makes the playing field so uneven. Like you can't compete on that level with companies like that, right? The amount of money they can throw at a legal team versus an individual person basically means that this isn't an exercise in justice. It's like I got one guy that is half as good as the 12 that you have on retainer, and how is it that these how are these the scales of justice in society, and somehow we come out and say that that's
It's not
fair.
there. These are all really dark issues that our society faces. You
Hmm.
see, once I asked my chairman in the insurance company, I said that if you're not going to pay these claims, you'll be sued. You know what he told me? He said, "We love the sues. We
Yeah, of
love them.
course.
We love filing cases. We have a team of lawyers that are sitting idle in the office all the time. We need them
Right,
to work."
right.
This is the attitude, you see.
Yeah, because
How do we,
it makes financial sense to push everything back and then see what makes it through the second pushback. uh yeah.
that's how we are. That's how the society is structured. This is why we all live in the negatives more than we live in positives,
Mhm.
whether it is in the working life or our own selves or whatever we think about it, how we analyze things. This is where we need to individually get out of the thinking patterns at least, and then we can delve into our own selves and think that what do I want really to do.
Yeah, it goes all the way back to like the first thing we talked about, I think, which was duty versus
Rights.
rights.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's right at that. It's like if everybody was doing the things that they were doing from a sense of duty, and this is what I should be doing, all those other complicated factors
Would be gone.
are gone. Yeah,
Yeah, they'll be eased out. That's how the society should be built, but
yeah.
we don't do it. That's how the whole world should be. Now, let's rest it here. I'm going to pick up for the next 5 minutes another thing which will carry on the next time,
Okay,
which is going to be really the rituals.
okay.
If I was going to make you into a Hindu and do it in a proper temple or somewhere, I would put a little bit of what we call it tika, or a little bit of thing on your forehead like
Yeah,
this,
I've seen that before.
the red and orange color one.
Hmm.
I would sprinkle a few drops of the holy Ganges water on you.
Hmm.
I will put a scarf, orange scarf around your neck and ask you to sit down. And then we would go into what is called the yagya or the havan or the fire oblation. Ask you to recite a few mantras, take water in your hand, take a vow and drink it, and recite the mantras with me, and then probably bless you with some flower petals and tell you that change your name into a Sanskritized name or something, and say that now you're a Hindu. So this is the ritual that would typically happen
Right.
to make somebody into a Hindu. Nothing beyond this. Also, I might give you the holy thread to wear and ask you to take a vow that the holy thread demands.
We talked about this before. You have yours on all the time still,
Yes,
right?
we have explained this to you before also. So this is the ritual that we follow to make a person typically. And this is also the ritual we follow in most of our celebrations or ritualistics or festivals or whatever it is. I will explain to you the things behind all these rituals and why do we do it and what does it represent. And that's where we will pick up the rituals and we'll talk about it.
Great.
The essential part of the ritual is what we call the fire oblation or the yajna or the havan. The thought behind it is, and I will explain to you why fire and what do we put in the fire. I'll explain to you all of it. The thought behind it is very simple, that the maker, the creator, is all the time doing a sacrifice or a yajna to create the whole world. He is all the time working hard to make this happen. And he does everything which is nothing for his own self. He does not consume anything. He does not take anything for himself. He has given it out and spreads it out in plentiful to everybody, whether it is man or an animal or whatever it is. He gives it for everybody, that okay, go and have it and enjoy. Nothing is for his own self. This itself, which is doing a karma that is beneficial for everybody else in the society and not only for me. The word for it is yajna. Yagya. That is what we call yajna. That is the word for it. But as human beings, how do we do it? We do it through fire oblation. And why, I will explain that to you also. Another thing you should know is that no Hindu prayer, none whatsoever, none of those 20,400 mantras in the Vedas, nothing, none of the prayers are ever as me or my or for me. We never pray anything for me. We always say, give us. We always say, make the whole world free of disease. We say, make the whole world knowledgeable. We never say I, me in any prayer. It is not there at all. Unless you want to speak it in a different language and say, give me everything, then it might be there. But in our prayers, it is not there. So we believe that the whole mankind and the whole world is one. If everybody benefits, I benefit.
Mhm.
I cannot be a very happy human being if my neighbors are in pain all the time.
Mhm.
So that is the concept that we have here, that we don't pray for myself only, we pray for everybody.
Mhm.
Similarly, when we do the prayers and when we do the fire oblations and other things, it is not for me. It is for the whole environment, for the world, for everybody. Where does it come from? Why do we do? How? I will explain all of them to you when we talk next Friday. Okay?
That sounds wonderful.
So can we end here and get together next Friday and I can talk about it?
Sounds great.
All right. And if you have any questions in the meantime, get back to me.
Okay, I will.
And if you can visit a temple, that'll be good.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try.
Okay.
I'm going to New York City. My brother's getting married this weekend, so
Okay. Okay. All
but we'll
right.
see.
That
I'll
might be
try.
tough for you. It'll
I
be
will
tough
try.
for you then. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Take
Okay.
care.
Thank you.
And we get together next week.
Okay. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye
See
bye.
you,
Thank
Arunaji.
you.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Goodbye.